What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a very special edition of the Burnout Brighter podcast, where today we are going to be talking about Pokemon Legends Arceus, and I'm joined by the hypest man in the industry to talk some Pokemon. Mr. Midas is joining me to talk. I thank you so much for being here with me, my friend. How's it going?
Gotta catch him all. Hey, I'm so hyped. I'm not even gonna lie, I don't even have a Pokemon tee. You know, obviously, Legend of Zelda is my game, and obviously the Breath of the Wild of the Pokemon. We're gonna get into it. I'm excited. I'm hyped. Thank you so much for having me, my G.
I couldn't do this with anybody else because I saw you tweet about it and I was like, we have to talk about this game. So before we get any deeper into Arceus, tell me a little bit, Midas, what's your history with Pokemon as a franchise?
So it's really interesting because I am not the Pokemon guy. I'm the Nintendo guy, but I'm not like the huge Pokemon guy. So Red and Blue never really connected with me. And Pokemon Yellow is the first one that I really loved because my introduction to Pokemon was the anime. So watching the anime, that's kind of my introduction. And I couldn't understand why in Red and Blue you couldn't pick Pikachu. Because I'm like, Ash has Pikachu. It doesn't make no sense. So Yellow was my first proper one and I got into it. And then weirdly enough, like my favorite Pokemon game before Arceus was Pokemon Stadium. Like I loved Pokemon Stadium on the N64. Like it was the first time the Pokemon had proper graphics. They were actually fighting each other in real time. So like I've played Sword, I've played Shield. Like they've just never connected with me. And I think the reason why they've never connected with me is because I'm actually an RPG guy. You know me, I'm a JRPG specialist. I love RPGs. I like to really get into those intricate games. And I feel like Pokemon's always been a bit of babies first. But with all of that said, this game is so sick.
Yeah, man. So for myself, like I started back on Red. I remember my parents kind of came home one day and they were like, here's a new game for you. And I was like, what is this? And that was before I'd ever seen the anime. So I was like trying to figure out what the hell is this? Where are all these random monsters? What's going on in this? And as I dug in and then the anime started and like I just fell in love. And I've played pretty much every mainline Pokemon since, with the exception of some of the later DS ones because I just didn't own a DS at that point, which was like X and Y and Black and White. So those are the kind of like my whole, but like everything before then and everything after then a bit. It's like my favorite so far is still Soul Silver, just because I'm a Johto guy. I love my Cyndaquil, which is why Arceus is shooting up my list because I got to start with my favorite starter and the game is just so good. Like I think I'm like 12 hours in, so I haven't finished it yet. How far are you, Midas? How much time have you spent with the game roughly?
Let me have a look. I feel like I'm probably at least a good 15 hours in. Like I literally haven't put this down since since I've got it. I haven't even played my PS. Like I haven't played my PlayStation since the release. It's literally just been sitting with my OLED. And can we take a minute about how good it looks on the OLED screen?
Yep. That OLED looks so clean. I'm so happy with it.
So many people were saying how the game doesn't look great, and I'm like, you're not playing it on the OLED. I put it on the TV for the first time, and I'm honest, it didn't look the greatest on the TV. I was like, ooh, but on the OLED, it looks so good. I can't even remember how you check your hours played on a Switch.
I think it shows in the save file in Pokemon. If you go to save,
okay,
I think it shows your hour count there.
All right.
But yeah, it's so good. Like graphically, I think is probably the weakest point. Like on the OLED, it looks crisp and clean just because of how good the screen looks. But like, if this is actually built on the Breath of the Wild engine, then they could have made it look better. And I think that's the biggest problem that people have with it for so far, which I think is warranted. But like, let's get into the good stuff.
15 hours and 22 seconds.
15 hours and 22 seconds. Hell yeah, dude. So okay, hit me with the surface level thoughts. What do you think of the game so far?
Okay, so let's take it back a bit. So like I said, I'm a big RPG guy. RPGs are my favorite genre, but my two favorite games ever are Legend of Zelda and Final Fantasy. Two completely different type of RPGs. Some people don't even say Legend of Zelda is an RPG. I say it is action based, and Breath of the Wild was a breath of fresh air. and
Mhm.
it changed games. The amount of games that have tried to recreate what the Breath of the Wild is, and Pokemon sell mad units, like they sell so much, like. And I feel like the Pokemon company, like Game Freak, never really pushed too much in changing the game.
Mhm.
Like Pokemon Let's Go and Pokemon Sword and Shield was the first time that they really was like, all right, let's put some effort into the graphics, how it looks and stuff like that, and take it to another visual level. But it still felt so samey. Like
Mhm.
playing it felt like it was those same games. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, they're trying to do Breath of the Wild, but why does it just doesn't, it looks empty. The graphics look janky. It just doesn't look like it's going to connect. Matt, I was wrong because it's connecting, fam. Like, it actually feels like I'm playing a modern game, which might
Mhm.
sound ridiculous, but every single Pokemon game I play, no matter how new it is, it still feels like a very old Game Boy game in the way that it plays. But this just feels like what a game's meant to play. Just running around, holding your Pokeball, being able to move forward, hiding. Like I love me some stealthing games,
Yeah.
dashing the balls in a Pokemon's face, Pokemon actually reacting to you, like some of them seeing you and just not doing others. Psyducks are always on smoke. Like, why are Psyducks so gangster? Like, I just don't get it. Every time I see a Psyduck, I'm shook. I feel like it's like a cripple blood running up on me. I'm like, fam, allow me. Like,
Relax.
it's mad. And yeah, the stuff they've done right, they've done so right.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to say it because like even with Sword and Shield felt like a half step forward. They had the kind of the massive open areas in that one, but it still felt like they weren't really confident in what they were doing with those open areas. And the Pokemon games has always traditionally just been also really their development time has always been shortened because of the anime, right? Like Pokemon Company is mad for making sure everything lines up properly. The games are going to drop alongside a new anime, alongside a new toy line, like everything has to go in step, and they never delay Pokemon games because they have all the rest of this stuff happening. And Arceus feels like for the first time, like you said, like it's an actual step forward for the franchise as a whole. Like they've actually done stuff differently, and they've really, I think, it seems like they've fallen in love with Game Freak has kind of like fallen in love with Pokemon again. Because like you said, they actually animate interestingly. They will have multiple things. Like the first time, like you said, Psyduck, the first time I come across one, they were just lying on the ground and chilling. And I'm like, that's one of the most Psyduck ass things I've ever seen. They're just chilling, lying on the ground. But like, yeah, when you piss them off, or some of those Pokemon, when they catch you, you're just kind of like, oh God, run. Like, I don't know if you saw that video going around of the Snorlax that just hyper beams a tiny little Turtwig. And it's just like, that Snorlax was just eating that thing for lunch, man. Like, game over. Like, Pokemon for the first time feel like dangerous animals that you have to actually avoid or be careful when you're confronting. Because if you do it wrong, you'll get smoked. And when you die, you actually lose so much of your stuff. It's not like, okay, they took a couple Pokeballs away from you. They'll almost empty out your inventory, man. Like, and I love that aspect of finding other people's satchels, where like you can just like run around and pick up other people's satchels and you'll get rewarded for it, and a lot of the items will go back to the player that lost them. They've just done so many little things like that that actually make sense.
So I didn't even know that was a thing. I haven't. Maybe I'm not playing online, but I literally haven't found anyone's satchels. So I didn't even know it was a thing. But I want to know from you, how did it feel when you first went out into the wild? When you actually went out and saw the Pokemon live and held a Pokeball? Like, what did you feeling did that give that to you?
You know, man, it's so interesting because like this is the first time probably since like Immortals Phoenix Rising, which was basically another Breath of the Wild, that like an open world has caught me in this way. Like I'm running around and being like, okay, the main thing is over there, but I'm gonna go all the way over there just to see what Pokemon I find along the way. Because like when you were playing the traditional Pokemon, going into some tall grass, and it's just like, okay, a Pokemon appeared, that's cool. But actually finding them and being like, okay, how am I going to approach this? It felt amazing, and being like kind of like, I wonder when I'm going to find my favorite Pokemon, and coming across the ones that you really love and care about. It's like exhilarating. It's a feeling that I haven't had in a Pokemon game in a long time, and it felt awesome. like I'm actually trying to explore the entire map. I'm actually trying to find Pokemon, and I've like never completed an actual Pokédex, and this is for the first time. I'm actually considering it, assuming February's onslaught of games doesn't stop me. But like, dude, I haven't been this in love with a Pokemon game, and I can't even tell you how long. And like you said, it's always felt like kind of baby's first JRPG, and this for the first time actually feels like a step in the right direction. So like I'm really really loving it so far. But for you, for someone who's not so invested in Pokemon as I've been for a long time, how does that feel like to you? How does it feel like comparing it to some of the other open world games? And like for someone who doesn't have this kind of like same affinity for a lot of these creatures, how are you finding coming across all these different Pokemon around?
So I'm gonna say straight off, this is not Breath of the Wild,
No.
and you're not getting the jump from what you've got. Like the Legend of Zelda, incredible franchise, and but then Nintendo tried so many different things that I feel
Mhm.
like the franchise kind of got lost in what it is, and Breath of the Wild was like, let's knock everything down and start again. I feel like what Arceus is the Pokemon company being like, look, we want to try something different. And
Mhm.
the big boss is like, I don't know, that the formula works, it makes money. And they're like, all right, let's do a spin-off and try something different. And I feel like from Pokemon Let's Go, you saw them implementing some new stuff that went
Mhm.
into the main line, Sword and Shield. And I'm really hoping that they base this of what every mainline Pokemon's gonna be now. Like just the way you're running around the world, just the way you're interacting with Pokemon. Like, fam, I've never cared so much about getting acorns. Like, and I'll tell you something that's really good. Um, that I was thinking the other day that like how really great this is structurally. Like we both play a lot of games, and the
Mhm.
tutorial area in a game can either be super boring, too much. It could be a Dark Souls where you just don't know what you're doing, or it could be
Mhm.
just done right. I didn't realize how good the tutorial area was until I went on further and I was like, oh, I can't make any more potions. I don't have any leaks. So I
Yep.
went back to the first area and there's leaks everywhere. Like there's just leaks everywhere. And I was like, oh my goodness, they made this area like you got two types of Pokemon, a Pokemon that's not really going to hurt you and one that's going to attack you straight away. Like they make that first area so perfect for someone who's new to Pokemon, for
Mhm.
someone who's used to Pokemon, and just ease you into it. But then you see a red eye Pokemon that will just batter you out of nowhere. And it's like the confidence that they've put behind it, and like Pokemon are not really known for the wonderful stories, and I'm not going to be like, oh my goodness, this story is mind-blowing, but I love the story that's there. What you said about Pokemon are wild, these are creatures. Like when I'm talking to the commander and he's like, look, these are wild creatures, like
Mhm.
we have to do what we have to do to survive and stuff like that. And then other clan leaders are like, I can't believe you're putting Pokemon in balls. What's wrong with
Mhm.
you? Like, so genius. Like, I started looking at them like wild tigers and wild lions and stuff like that. That's how I started thinking about Pokemon, and I never have.
Right? And it's the love that they have for this franchise again. And like you said, the story is probably the most interesting it's been in a long time. And like you said, it's nothing like mind blowing, but just the care and the love that they seem to be putting it, even with the side content. Like a lot of the traditionally with the Pokedex entries, they're so separate from the rest of the main game. And those Pokedex entries, some of them are wild. Like for example, with one of the side missions in this, um, which there's a bunch of, and most of them are just fetch quests, but some of them get really interesting. Driftloon is like this purple balloon Pokemon. And like traditionally, its Pokedex entry was talking about how it would try and like lure kids away from villages and basically try and like steal their souls. And in this one, mild spoiler for one of the side quests, but you find out that you're like one of these kids is missing, and you go and you find it, and it's a Driftloon which lured it away from the village. But they're putting care in there, like they actually are paying attention to the narrative and the stories that they're telling, not just even in the main quest, but in the side quests, and actually using those Pokedex entries in an interesting way. Like this is the first time in a while for me that they're like, we know what we want to do and we know the love and care that we wanted to put into this franchise, And I really, like you said, I really do hope they use this as kind of like a building block for what the series is going to continue to be going out from here, because they've flipped Pokemon on its head while also still feeling like Pokemon, which is brilliant. So what I want to ask then, Midas, is what are some of the things that this game doesn't do as well? Because we both obviously love the game. We're super hype on it. What are some of the things that stand out to you that like I want this to see improved next time around?
All right, so I just need to jump in and say one thing
Mhm.
before I say that. The Pokédex is incredible and it's done so well. And like I said, I'm not the Pokemon guy and I'm always referring to my Pokédex. So I'm
Mhm.
running into bare Psyducks. So I've defeated loads of Psyducks. And now I went in my Pokemon Dex and I'm like, oh, what do I need to do? Oh, I need to capture more Psyducks. So
Mhm.
every time I see a Psyduck now, all I'm thinking is capturing rather than attacking. So it's making it interesting because to fill out your Pokedex, it's not just when you see the Pokemon once you catch it. It could be you have to catch a certain amount, you got to defeat a certain amount, you have to defeat a certain amount doing a certain move, or you might
Mhm.
have to catch them at night. So I really like that. In terms of what it's lacking what a Pokemon game is in terms of the structure. So you're not getting your gyms.
Mhm.
So like I love Nessa. Like Nessa is Bay, stunning, black female, strong, her moveset, loved her to death. And like I literally only play Pokemon Sword so I could go to her gym. And
Obviously.
that exactly, you get me? And that kind
Mhm.
of having those gym leaders, having the caves and stuff to go through, like you don't get any of this because this is all a prequel. This is
Mhm.
before people were really living with Pokemon. So a lot of complaints that people get in is that it's pretty empty. Now, the thing I love about my Switch is I love that I can just background play my Switch.
Mhm.
I love being able to play my Switch while listening to a podcast, listening to Burnout Brighter, kind of funny, whatever, and just listening to something and just playing in the background. And I can do that with this. Like that's
Yeah.
probably why I played it so much. Like I've my health, like has been up and down,
Mhm.
and I'm able to just chill in my sofa and play with it. Like I said, I haven't even put it on my TV, and I'm really enjoying that. So yeah, from my point of view, I feel like the things that is missing is having that big structure of the game and stuff. But I also kind of feel like they couldn't have done that in this game unless they didn't put it out for another 3 years.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the biggest thing for me. Like we spoke about the graphics briefly, but yeah, graphically I think it could look a little better. I love how the Pokemon look and how they animate, but the world itself could use some more TLC. But you're 100% right. Like even environmentally, you have kind of like your one, at least so far, you have your one major village, which is awesome because you actually do see it change. Like, different people will come and go. You'll see like more inhabitants come and join your village and unlock new stuff as the story progresses. But outside of that, you just kind of have like these big open areas, which, like, this is your meadow area, this is your volcano area, this is your beach area. And while that's all well and good, I do miss that traditional Pokemon feeling of like, okay, I'm going from this city, now I'm going to travel down this route to get to this next major city. So I really do hope we get a bit of that structure back, in what the next game will be, but just with this formula. Let me go on this adventure, because this really does feel more Monster Hunter like, where you're going out, doing the thing, capturing the Pokemon, and coming back to home base. I want to feel like that, that old school Pokemon feeling of I'm going on a journey. I'm going to go from this place to this place to this place to this place, continue on, get my gym badges. And like, I want to see them really take that and blow it out. And I think you're right. That kind of Pokemon game, I hope is in the future, and I hope they take their time with it, because if they nail it, that could really be the biggest Pokemon ever. And even with Arceus, we got sales data for the UK this morning that it's already outpacing Animal Crossing, which is mad considering how that game sold. So I really do hope that they use this as a foundation to make it feel more traditional, but also more like this in the next outing, because I think it's fantastic what they've done so far, and it just needs a little more time in the oven. It just needs a little bit, like you said, I want that bit of that narrative back. I want that adventure that Pokemon gives you, because this really does feel like Monster Hunter-ish, which is totally awesome for what this is now, but I want that kind of structure a little bit back next time around. But that is kind of where I'm at with it. I'm loving it so far. It's so much fun in capturing these Pokemon. I gotta ask, what's your go-to Pokemon so far? So wait, first off, what starter did you pick, and what's your team looking like?
Okay, so the team's looking pretty neat right now. Look, I'm on it. So I've just been upping my level of my Raichu
Hmm.
because even though like I love me some Pikachu. I've always been a really big fan of Raichu. My main Pokemon is it Duot?
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
Oshawotts evolve form.
yeah. So
Nice.
I never go for water types. I usually always go for fire types. So it's usually Charmander or the Score Bunny. This is the
Hmm.
first time I ever went for a water type.
Okay,
Um, Obviously I had to get a Psyduck because he's just
obviously.
gangster. And I'm rolling with Ghastly because I like to poison um Pokemons before I get into it. One thing that we didn't really mention,
Hmm.
and this is something that I wouldn't know because I'm not really a Pokemon guy, but this kind of has boss battles.
Yeah, yeah, we
Is
completely
that
missed
is
the
that
alphas.
is that is that new?
That is 100% new, especially the way that the structure works for them. Because, like you said, you have like these massive creatures that you'll come across, these like kind of like sacred Pokemon that are like frenzied out and freaking out, and you have to just basically pelt them with with satchels of stuff until they eventually calm down and you can get in with the Pokemon and mess them up a bit, and then they get enraged again. I think these boss battles are a really cool idea, and I like how they're implemented. I do think they're a little bit samey though. It's just kind of like dodge throw, dodge throw, dodge throw. There's nothing really more to them, but I love the idea of what they're doing with them. What do you think of them so far?
I really enjoyed them, and I think they're really smart narrative because when I saw them before, I was like, why would you be throwing Pokeballs at these big bosses? But
Hmm.
they narratively make it so, like, minor spoiler, when you go to one of the boss battles, you're basically throwing healing herbs. So you're not
Yep.
actually throwing Pokeballs, you're throwing healing herbs, and then you're throwing your Pokemon in to kind of beat that. So I really like that. I think it was thing, but I really want to take a moment for how good it feels to catch a Pokemon.
Yep.
Like, like they, like the mechanics of that, they've done it so well. Like they could have got it so wrong where every time you hold a Pokeball, you just stop. But the way
Yep.
you can just maneuver left and right with your Pokeball is so good. And them adding the two different styles when you're fighting now.
Yes.
So when you're fighting a Pokemon now, you've got your agile style, which means you can hit faster, less damage, but it almost allows you to sometimes hit twice.
Hmm.
Or you got a stronger style. So like when I'm see a Psyduck, yes, Psyducks, I'm on your neck. Obviously I get out my Raichu and I just get my strong Thunderbolt and just lick him, you get me, and take him out
Yeah.
one time. So like I love that. I think that's so smart, and this game's just made me care about it. Like I just want to play it, and I can honestly tell you I've never felt like that about a Pokemon game in my life.
The pacing in this game, they've nailed it. Like you mentioned, right? Like the ability to just move around while you're actually getting ready to toss your Pokeball. It's also just like, okay, I'm gonna rip one Pokeball over here, rip another Pokeball over here, almost simultaneously. You don't have to sit there and wait for that Pokemon to finish catching. It'll catch or it won't, and you can decide to come back. Like I'll be running and just like toss a Pokeball here, toss a Pokeball here, switch to my Pokemon, toss one of my Pokemon at like a tree to knock some stuff along the way. And it's just like it keeps moving. Like it doesn't slow down if you want to play it that way. Like it really does kind of let you play at the pace that you want to play, so that way you're just kind of like throwing mad balls all over the place, catching everything you can see while also slowing down and be like, okay, like you said, I have to battle this one because I got to raise my Pokedex stats with it, so I'm gonna quickly take this one out. And even like the fact that you can hit Pokemon from behind and that'll raise your catch chances or give you an extra attack in at the beginning. They've just so thoughtfully put this all together so that the pacing and that the flow doesn't ever really feel like it's slowing down unless you're, starting to stealth in, get into the bushes and be like, okay, I have to catch this Pokemon without being seen, or there's a giant alpha Pokemon over there that will wreck my day if I get too close. So like the pacing they've just nailed it.
I know we're getting on a bit, but quickly, how do you
Mhm.
feel about the external cast? Because Pokemon are very great at making dope characters like Nessa, like I said, super love. How do you feel about the external cast? Because you don't have those grand gym leaders. You've got these different clan leaders.
I actually really enjoy what they've done with them, especially from a design point. Like a lot of them look so visually interesting compared to some of the designs that we've gotten before. Like you said, like stuff like characters like Nessa and some of the other ones from the older games. They're very visually striking. I actually feel that the majority of the main character, like the external characters, actually look very cool. And it's interesting because you have this whole Diamond Clan versus Pearl Clan with Galaxy Team kind of being stuck in the middle between these two factions who are very much on the brink of something going down. And just the way that all kind of works together and watching them learn and grow, I feel like they've really nailed a lot of the external cast without feeling like there's too many characters, because you have kind of the couple main ones that feel more important, but a lot of the characters that I've met along the way so far have been memorable, which for Pokemon is kind of hit or miss depending on where you at. But this game I think has nailed it. What about you? What do you think about the secondary cast?
Oh yeah, I really like them. Like I said, there's no one that stood out to me in a way, like a Team Rocket or something like that. But visually, they're really cool, and I really love the customization in the game as well. Like,
Hmm.
I went for the female character because for me, whenever I play a game, whoever I see kind of in all of the marketing is the character that I usually play as. So, like
Hmm.
for example, something like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, all the marketing I saw was for the male one, so I played the male version. But
Hmm.
90% of the marketing I've seen has been the female, so I ended up playing female. And I really like the customization of like the different clothing and stuff. I'm
Hmm.
just like, have to pay 500 to see the hair options.
Yeah.
Do you know how
Yeah.
mad that got me? I don't even, not even to, do you know how much has I paid £500 and then I just keep my same bonnet? I'm like, I didn't even change my hair and it just cost me like 500.
It's like at that point, I feel like I have to change my haircut, even if it's something that I don't like as much, because I'm like, I spent the money, man. I don't want to just let these people walk away with my 500 pounds and all I'm left with is this janky haircut because I have to. But oh well, I better let put a hat on.
Just got robbed out here.
But yeah, as for myself, like I went with obviously my boy Cyndaquil, and I have him as a Kulava now, and I'm really excited to see the final Hisuian version, because again, they've also messed with a bunch of the Pokemon to make them feel differently. Like the fact that Voltorb was now a wooden ball is absolutely amazing. And then I had to get my Sylveon and my Gyarados, because those are always kind of my top three. So the first time I went looking for a Magikarp, it was kind of like, all right, I was looking at my map and like, there's a big body of water there. Maybe I'll find one over there. And these idiots just kind of swim right up to you and they're like, hey. And I'm kind of like, yeah, they've nailed these morons. I love these little idiots. But yeah, I'm loving the game so far, Midas, and I'm glad that you are too. I'm glad it's connecting with you in a way that Pokemon never really has before. And like we said, I really hope that this is kind of the building blocks for what they're going to do next. So hit me with your closing thoughts. What are you feeling about the game? How happy are you? And hit me with those closing thoughts.
Really loving my time with it. Like I said, I'm only like 15 hours in. I'm not sure if I'll get bored, but right now I'm not. My hope and pray is that the Game Freak use this as the formula for Pokemon going forward. What I would hate is the next mainline Pokemon game to be exactly the same as Sword and Shield, and they've created all of this greatness and they just kind of keep it as a side piece. And I
Mhm.
think what they've done, like if they merge everything they have in this with the mainline structure of a Pokemon game, took in gym leaders and stuff like that, I think they could make the Breath of the Wild of the Pokemon game. So really enjoying it. Just like me, if you're not a major Pokemon player, I think you should give it some time because I think you'll be surprised. And I've been lucky enough that Nintendo sent me a lot of games. I've tried every Pokemon game of the
Mhm.
last how many years, and I'll play for like a couple hours and be like, all right, cool. I enjoyed my time, move
Mhm.
on. But I think about this game a lot. And like I said, I ain't even switched on my PS5.
Yep. I'm the same way. Like I haven't touched my PlayStation in days. I'm loving my time with this and I really do. Like I'm genuinely curious to see what's around the next corner. I'm actually interested to see where the story is going. I'm like actually like looking for Pokemon because now it's felt more like a hunt for more than any other time before. Being like, where is this Pokemon that I know that I want? Where can I find them? And that adventure is just so good. But thank you, my friend, for joining me on our on our review and progress on our thoughts so far. But before we go, if people wanted to find more of you, my friend, where could they find you?
You can check me out on my own YouTube. I talk about RPGs, a lot of PlayStation games, Nintendo Pace, action adventures, and I've got a podcast series called Too Many Games and Not Enough Time. So that's on youtube.com/Mr. Midas Games. I'm on Twitter, always talking about games and reposting weird memes and gifs. I love a gif. So that's twitter.com/Mr. Midas Games. And I've got a show on Jinx Esports TV called From the Jump with Red Bull. So you can catch that on Jinx Esports TV on your TV in Canada and UK, Philippines, or you can watch it online at jinx.tv. Thank you so much for having me. Do you know how nice it is to talk about this game? Because I haven't had anyone to talk to about it.
For real, dude. Like, I've just been feeling like, I'm like, oh my God, I have all these things that I want to say. And it's awesome that we got to rock together. Thank you for joining me, everybody. Please go find Mr. Midas. He is one of the hypest people online and you will not regret it. We will see you on the next video. Thanks for tuning in. Please make sure you like, subscribe, share, do all the fun stuff. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out.
Peace.